On this exclusive series, we're taking you beneath the surface and sharing advice and lessons learned straight from our leadership. We hope these special episodes help you and your teams better leaders for the dirt world. All right, let's dig in. So one of the things I love about Hoopaugh Grading Company is we've got a vision, and that vision is to be the best, but we've also got a standard for what it takes to be an HGC team member. And what is that standard?
Well, the standard's being the best.
It's the best.
Yeah, the best.
I love it. And I don't know if I've ever told y'all the story. Brian knows this story. But I was leading a dream experience at Clemson. And Brian, he still doesn't like this because he's a Gamecock, but he has respect for Dabo. And we were down at the practice facility at Clemson, and there's this huge banner, and it says, "The best is standard." And I came back, I told Brian, I said, "That's it." Yep. I said, "That's it." I said, "That encompasses everything that we are trying to convey." And he said, "Well, we can't steal it." I said, "Well, let's just take out the. And we'll just go with best as standard." I said,
best was already our vision before he went on.
That's
dream.
right. Well, maybe Dabo stole it from us.
He might have stole it from us. Yeah.
But I love the concept of that because it's a moving target. It's not a stationary standard. It's not like, hey, you got there and congratulations, you achieved it. Like tomorrow, you can be better.
You got to keep getting
better. You got to work to stay there, and you got to continue working to get better.
It's a moving target.
Moving target.
When you have to do that as a company, I think to evolve all the time, your competition's getting better, things are changing in the industry, and you always have to keep up with that to keep the company getting better and maintaining being the best.
Yeah. Because as you get better, your competition's going to be forced to get better.
That's right.
Well, it's like we said in our last podcast together. I mean, as this team continues to get better and better, which they are. I mean, just a perfect example. You take an excavator operator that gets better, he gets faster, because he's learning the skill and he's getting where he can get a full bucket every time. That truck driver has also got to get better because they've got to flow. That efficiency's got to be there. That dozer operator, as they get better, that game keeps changing. And that level, you don't just get there and plateau. You can get better and better and better. And that's where, I'll go back to that whole that's your low-hanging fruit there for the company to survive. As we get better together, there's a whole lot more prosperity there for the team, as well. But when you talk about the best, at least when you break it down to the field level, it is for the outside world, but it's also for our world too. I mean, it's actually probably just as important or more internally. But when you show up on a job site, in the mornings. I mean, the standard ought to be that, you're not sloppy. I mean, we give you this nice gear to wear. You've got nice PPE. Put it on. You should be part of being the best. The standard is I'm wearing my PPE. I've got my glasses. I've got my vest. I've got my boots on. Have your the best attitude you can have each morning and, listen and communicate and take that huddle in the mornings at that whiteboard and ask the questions and really speak up about the hazards and help formulate those plans. That's what starting the morning being the best is. But the other piece is being there on time. A lot of times, I mean, folks sometimes like, what'll get you in the biggest trouble at Hoopaugh Grading? Well, the fact of the matter is hardly anything gets you in trouble, but will probably get you run out of here is not being dependable. And if you're not here on time, you're not being the best. Yeah. So being on time, being punctual, so that you're ready to go to work, and that means ready to go to work. Not getting there and then take 20 or 30 minutes to get ready to go to work.
What we're talking about with this episode, we're talking about a thing called that you don't hear a lot in our business. We're talking about professionalism, and I don't know about you, but when I hear the word professionalism, for a long time, I would think it was just stiff. It's a stiff-sounding word. And I think of the banking industry. I think of the tech industry. Somebody in an office that's wearing a starched shirt every morning and coming in, and it doesn't apply to our business. But that's not the case. There's professionalism in construction. What does professionalism at HGC look like to you?
I mean, to me, it's being a team player. having your teammates back when you're working through issues, and maybe the entire project team doesn't totally agree on something, but you put your ego to the side and you follow those values and you work through the issues together. And if the PPS that the project team came up with, if it doesn't work, then you're professional about it. You leave that ego to the side. You drop back and pivot and go to the next. But you continue to have the attitude of being the best, following the values, putting your next foot forward, and working through any issues as a project team.
Yeah, I agree. The egos just need to be left at home, and everybody just try and work together and be helpful together, and don't let your ego get in the way of doing the right thing or going with the right plan just because it wasn't your idea or you didn't think of it. So we have a tremendous amount of experience within this company. There are a lot of people that have done this for years and years and really understand the work and what we're trying to do, and so we have a big knowledge pool to pull from. So there may be difference of opinions sometimes, and sometimes plans may have to be adjusted. And I think just letting your ego go and doing the right thing for the team is the way to go. And sometimes if the plan doesn't work out, you may have to drop back and figure out another game plan. But just really important to work together and not let the ego get in the way.
And keeping that positive attitude, like we talked about in the last
Yeah.
section. I mean, that positive attitude is huge.
When I think about professionalism at HGC, I think about the word pride, taking pride in what you do. Not pride in a bad way, not ego pride, but taking pride in the quality of our work, taking pride in how we look. It doesn't have to be stiff, but taking pride in making sure that, our job sites are clean, our trucks are clean. When people look at us, they think, wow, that's a good-looking operation. And they take pride in their work. They take pride in how their work is done. They take pride in how they treat their employees. They take pride in the development and the training of their employees. Just think about that when I think about professionalism. It doesn't have to be stiff. It doesn't have to be, regulated. It's a sense of pride about what you do.
Well, it is, and it's just instead of using the big word professionalism, it's just doing the right thing. Do what you're supposed to do and do what's right. Meaning, and the little things really do matter when it comes to professionalism. And it's looking neat with your jacket on that we've given you. It's making sure your tracks are clean. If you think about it from an operator standpoint, to be professional, it's to somewhat work alongside of a team and be that example of, okay, I did everything right. They see you sweeping your machine out every day. They see you cleaning the tracks. They see you cleaning the windows with the Windex. Your trash is getting pulled out every day. You're being a great example. I mean, that's professionalism, to where no one can sit there and say, that guy's not doing what he's supposed to do.
Right.
Or that job site looks rough because that dozer operator didn't track in the slope or didn't get that slope right. All that's professionalism, and that's the perception that everybody sees, but it's also the little things that drive to the bottom line, as far as keeping things professional. So, I think you can break this down, and we could sit here and talk for hours for, the crews, but, mechanics, not leaving rags and
That's what I was going to
oil
ask you.
containers and things like that. When you get done with your work, you clean up your mess.
Yeah.
And, lowboy drivers, when we drop off a piece of equipment, we're sweeping the decks off. We're getting rid of the things that could hit the cars going down the road, because people see that, and that there's like, well, that company's not professional. Very similar to that call this morning. The neatness of that job and the way the equipment was parked and the way the teammates' cars were parked, in her eyes, were professional.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that means. But then it goes deeper than that. If you're looking professional and you're acting the part, which, again, you're just doing it because it's natural, the job, people view the job as, hey, they do a great job. Yeah. It's professional. It's not sloppy. You know, there's not going to be any quality issues because, hey,
They're taking
they
pride
take
in the
care of
work.
that equipment.
Yep.
And them guys are doing what they're doing out there. We're going to get a product that'll last forever.
And then I think too, I mean, it's not only a perception of the community or teammates or the client. I mean, that perception does truly become the reality of what we're doing.
Well, I think the small details you hit on, a lot of times when we miss those things or ignore those details that should be communicated, and it ends up causing huge problems in the end, whether it's an estimator that misses a small detail in a bid, or a project manager that doesn't communicate a small detail to a superintendent in the field, or just like you said, a guy doesn't clean his tracks out and we prematurely wear out rollers on a machine. You know, those small details become huge issues that we have to deal with and impact the bottom line of the company.
Grayson, Brian mentioned a few. Give me an example of a time where we weren't as professional as we should have been. Can you think of one?
I can think the number one that sticks out in my mind, and this goes back to community, but I received a phone call one morning. It was about 10 after 6. We had an employee in an HGC truck that was labeled, an HGC jacket, and an HGC hat. And this particular employee is no longer with HGC, but they apparently the caller was not involved in the incident, but witnessed the incident, and it was arguing over who was going to pull into the gas pump. And our employee had the wrong attitude, was not respectful, and you know, there was just one person at the Quick Trip that actually took the time to get our number and call and track me down. But to her point, there was 15 other people in the parking lot that witnessed the same thing. And I mean, that's not being professional. I mean, that's not being the best. It's not being a good community member.
That's right.
I mean, it just but 15 people witnessed that morning, and I don't know how many of those that witnessed it still resonates with them, but at least that one person did.
Yeah. Tim, you probably as good at this as anybody I know. How do you maintain professionalism in the middle of a difficult conversations? You know, because you're dealing with clients that are upset. You're dealing with inspectors. You're dealing with, you know, people out on the job site. You're dealing with the public sometimes. How do you maintain that?
I think you got to really just stay calm, and you got to look at things from their perspective as well, and you know, just know all the facts too, because you really got to understand what's going on. You know, a lot of times there's each side has a different story, so you got to really dig in and understand what the facts are and what you're dealing with, and just be calm and professional about it. I mean, everybody, I've gotten heated before, and you know, let my temper take over, but you really can't do that. You just got to get a handle on that and be respectful. And you can have those crucial conversations, and if you handle it in a respectful manner, then, you know, in almost 100% of the cases, I've always been able to work through it. You know, whether that was an issue with an employee, a client, a trade partner, we've always figured out a way to where we could agree to move forward and everybody be satisfied in the end.
I've never seen you lose it. I'd hate to see that too.
22 years, I don't think I have.
But I think you're right, and the key to that, and I'm not great at this either, but Jocko talks about this concept of you've got to detach. Mm-hmm. You got to detach from the situation long enough to remove the emotion. When emotion's involved, you rarely handle it the right way. You're rarely professional in your communication. So being able to detach, step back, look at this, remove the emotion, and then engage again in a professional manner.
Yeah.
Well, and I think when you detach like that too, Brandon, it allows you to view it through the other party's lens. And that's where, you know, every time that, you know, Tim and I, we sit down with the team and we're going through things, you know, it's not that we're second guessing our team, but if you hear enough of the same thing, you tend to believe it. But it's our jobs to say, well, maybe we're wrong. And if you can detach and look at it through a different lens, you need to become that owner, or whoever you're dealing with, that inspector or that employee,
Right.
Or the truck driver or whomever it needs to be, your role in those situations, you should say, well, what is he thinking or she thinking right now? Let me look at it the way they're looking at it. And then when you do that and you take the time to detach on that end, your response is always a lot different.
It's a great point.
Great
point. Look at it from a different perspective, from their perspective.
Yeah.
Eddie Rollins, part of our team development group, he really, and it ain't just since, he's been here over 20 years, and, Eddie's always been very, very respectful at anything he does. But, he used to tell people all the time, like, look, when someone comes up to you and they're had a bad morning and all that, the first 2 or 3 words out of your mouth is going to set the tone for the balance of that conversation. So you're better off to, if you can't say anything good, don't say anything at all, because you're not going to get what's really wrong or what's really needing to be worked on. Yeah. So I've always tried to keep that in the back of my mind when detaching. It's like, well, even though you may want to pounce or you may want to say something, you kind of got to bite that tongue and know that, okay, well, I need to hear this out. And I think that helps in those situations, because a lot of times when you dig deep, what may appear to be the issue on the outside is not what created that problem.
Yeah,
right. It's always 4 or 5 layers back.
Right.
And a lot of times on our end, we had a lot to do with it, as a company. So it's, how do you prevent, that from happening?
And that's our job.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, we keep saying this word that is uncomfortable, this professionalism, but we are supposed to be professionals.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be the best at what we do and leading people and dealing with those situations too. So, we have to do that.
And I think too, Tim and I, we just talked about this in the boot camp some, but what you're talking about detaching, but what you said earlier too about, gather the facts before you engage. Right. Sometimes the situation may dictate that you need to detach to gather all your facts and then come up with the solution. And I think sometimes,
we react too fast.
We react too fast, or we don't listen to understand. We listen to reply. So I think when you tie all that in together,
Well, you do a great job of that. Grayson, y'all seen it. Something will go down and Grayson say, let me get all my facts together and I'll get back to you. We'll huddle up afterwards.
Yeah, I try.
Yeah.
I don't do that. Brian and I tend to shoot first and aim second.
Yeah.
You and Tim are a lot more methodical in how you do it. But that's a great example.
Yeah.
But
that's
a great way to detach.
Yeah.
Sitting here talking, we've talked a little bit about this before, but we don't sell a bottle of water. We don't sell a Coke or food or anything like that.
Somebody's going to come back.
But we sell a service, and our service, and this is where the word professionalism comes in, is we're selling our team, and we're selling a professional team. It's not the dozer, it's not the mechanic's truck, the low boy, all these fancy. Those are our tools. What we're selling is the individual's ability to do a task or plan or whatever it may be. And I think if you can have that mindset as a teammate that, look, I'm the product.
Right.
I'm the one that, my skill is just a byproduct of me, but we're selling us. As a group of people, then it ought to be really easy to get behind this professionalism piece.
That's a great point.
Great point. Their skill and their attitude.
Yeah. That's what we're selling.
That's the mindset. They're not just buying the work out there. They're buying the people, the leadership, the professionalism of our team. And otherwise you can be compared to every other grading company in the world.
Absolutely.
But what separates us from them is the professionalism of our team. And I love that. I love that mindset. Until next time, keep leading with purpose and passion. If you like listening to the Give Us the Dirt podcast, we want you to hit the like button and subscribe for more great content.